well, Donald Trump said something that wasn't as pro-life as I wanted. Oh, okay. He also gave us the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and I can promise you this will not happen under his watch. So I don't want to hear your whining and complaining that he doesn't say everything perfectly like you want him to say. The choice is very clear. The contrast is very clear in what's happening right now, just with this issue. Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Out of habit, I almost said happy Monday, but it's a short week today. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. I want to welcome to the show, joining me, Matthew Marsden, Blaze TV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire. How was your Memorial Day? How was your Labor Day?
It was great. My Memorial Day was good as well. All my days were good. They were all great. They were great.
Great. By the way, make sure if you have not yet subscribed to Matt Marsden's YouTube channel, go subscribe. What's the
Do
URL?
it.
What's the
Do
URL?
it now. It's Matthew D. Marsden. It's very easy.
So formal. Matthew D. Marsden. That was a terrible accent. All right. So speaking of immigrants, but the illegal kind, he's a legal kind.
Yes, I am.
The illegal kind just continue. Listen, Joe and Kamala's America continues to astound. Okay, yesterday, Chicago Emergency Dispatch received 911 calls reporting 32 Venezuelan gang members trespassing in the courtyard of an apartment building in the south side of Chicago, brandishing guns, firearms. And remember, this is not the first place that this has happened. We talked about Aurora, Colorado last week. So just for some perspective here, Chicago is a sanctuary city. And Illinois has been a sanctuary state since 2017. And police actually didn't arrive on the scene for over an hour. Here's some of that 911 call.
Unit 10-3, I'm citywide, person with a gun, 6124 South King Drive. Caller says 32 Venezuelans are trespassing the building, showing guns in the courtyard, and they have motorcycles in the courtyard as well. Also,
almost like it's a bad idea to bring in
nothing further
unvetted
is
strangers.
Multiple calls. Person with the gun, 6124 South King.
I tried to tell you.
Also came over to disturbance, large
They're not bringing in
gathering.
the best. I tried to say they're
32
not bringing in the
Venezuelans
best.
trespassing in the building property, showing guns in the courtyard. They have motorcycles in the courtway, all stairwells filled.
I
And nothing
mean,
further.
this is America. In 2024, under Joe Biden and borders are Kamala Harris. Now, the Venezuelan gang is Tren de Aragua, and they are, of course, part of that same gang in Aurora, Colorado, in multiple different places in this country. And Aragua is actually a state in Venezuela. So, seems to be what happens when we open the border and welcome anyone in, that Venezuela is like, hey, the government is like, hey, go ahead, go infiltrate their borders. And the Venezuelan government actually has a history of allowing gang kingpins to control their prisons. Tocoron prison is where this particular gang originated. And amenities in this prison include actually a mini zoo and stables, a baseball field, a swimming pool, a nightclub named Tokyo, and
You gotta be kidding.
children's play area. I'm going to let that one just sink in for a second. Now, this is, as I mentioned, Chicago. Okay. Things are done a little differently around there in Chicago when you're trying to, Aurora, Colorado, outside of Denver or Chicago. The residents there are not taking it, lying down. Here's one resident's warning. Watch.
To all Venezuelans in Chicago, this is the warning. If you ain't on no bull, stay neutral. Somebody please translate. Stay neutral. If you know somebody that's in your building on bull, don't let them run in that building, and don't let nobody see them run in that building. Because once word get out that that's the building that they in, they gonna chop that down. Whatever building, abandoned building y'all occupying and all that, yeah, you better get your food and just stay in the house, because they come out doing some bullshit. Y'all gonna regret that. This ain't Utah. This ain't none of them places. This is just like where you from. The only difference is y'all use a lot of handgun, old revolvers, and machetes and shit. We got switches.
So here in America in 2024, it is now, I guess, American gangs versus Venezuelan gangs. And I want to play for you. You know what? Let's play. This is apparently Aurora local Lance Foster, who showed up to one of these apartment complexes that they had taken over. And he's like, we're just going to chase them out. We're going to chase these Venezuelans out. Watch.
Came down here to the Lowry Apartments, rented the Big Mod.
For sure, Big Mod 29. Y'all know what it is?
Yeah, we down here for the same reasons. Right
Facts.
here. Dallas and 12th. The Lowry Apartments, we're down here to chase these Venezuelans off. Look, we got another one right here. What's up, bro? Look, we're down here to take our country back.
Ain't no question.
It's just,
You guys want to mob down or what? I got a megaphone in the car. Yeah?
What's your name, bro? I'm Big Mod, bro.
Yeah, we down here. America's back down to take this shit back. Venezuelan gangs. We're here to chase you off. This is our communities. You want to see what gang violence is? We invented gang violence.
listen, when you have the gang members who are like, we're taking America back, baby, we ain't letting them in here, you know it's something's gone awry.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching the Warriors, aren't we? We're watching the Warriors for real. But I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sitting there and I'm like, look, at least in Chicago, they're going to stop killing each other now and they're going to kill somebody else, which is kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's part of me that's like, all right then, okay, because the fact, look, what did they expect to happen? We keep talking about this over in the UK and in Europe as well. Mm-hmm. We keep saying this, by the way, and we're seeing right now the Venezuelan gangs. What you're not seeing is the Iranians. Right. We're not seeing the Chinese. Right. You're not seeing all the really heavy enemies of the United States that aren't so stupid as to go and take over a building like that. Like this is...
But they're here.
They're all here.
Let's just be clear. All of those aforementioned are here. We just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, because they're not stupid enough to go over and take over. Yeah, when that comes, which it will come, we keep talking about it, it will come. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very, very, very bad. God bless the Second Amendment.
I would say it already is very bad.
It is very bad.
And listen, I'm not, I don't like that this is happening, but if it's going to happen, 9 weeks before an election where people have to make a choice who they want to lead the country and their vision for the future of the country is not a terrible time for Venezuelan gangs to start taking over random cities across the country. It's not just them, too, because this is, you want to talk about all of these sanctuary cities. How's it going? How's it going for Chicago? We've seen that. How's it going for Colorado? We've seen that. How's it going for New York? Manhattan, 75% of arrests in Midtown Manhattan are now illegal immigrants. That's how it's going, okay? By the way, these are not like trivial crimes. These are crimes of assault, robbery, domestic violence. And because they have sanctuary city laws, the cops over there in New York are not allowed to work with ICE on cases in which they believe suspects are in the country illegally. They're not allowed to track the immigration status of offenders. And so that's how it's going in sanctuary cities across the country. By the way, police say word has gotten out in the shelters about the New York City lax bail guidelines. So these illegal immigrants know that they're going to get kicked back onto the street very quickly after they are incarcerated. Great. Things are going great. Connecticut law enforcement now is being warned about this Venezuelan gang. They say police reports, already confirmed their presence, this gang's presence in 11 states. 1,000 members are in our country illegally right now. That's an estimation. Hey, here's a thought. The estimations are always low. So I guarantee you it's more than that. 1,000 members is already high enough. It's more than that. I can promise you. 11 states coming soon to a state near you. Venezuelan gang members taking over your apartment complexes. This is America. Do you want better? Do you want different? Go to the polls in November. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to hear this bullshit about, well, Donald Trump said something that wasn't as pro-life as I wanted. Oh, okay. He also gave us the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and I can promise you this shit will not happen under his watch. So I don't want to hear your whining and complaining that he doesn't say everything perfectly like you want him to say. The choice is very clear. The contrast is very clear in what's happening right now just with this issue.
I've got nothing more. I mean, the only thing I can say is I'd apply the same logic to the DeSantis people who were still so butthurt that he didn't win. And I keep saying over and over, look, we all love DeSantis here. You love DeSantis, I love DeSantis. But you cannot keep going on about him if he didn't win the nomination, right? That's not our fault. That's not your fault, right? So there's a clear choice right now. You want chaos in the streets where people are going to be killing each other? Like, we're right there. We are right there right now. There are gangs. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, like, when you go throughout periods of history, if you've lived a long life like I have, there are certain aspects of your life that are kind of like set and taken care of, or you think so. Like a man is a man and a woman is a woman, right? We don't have to worry about that, right? And so everything's chaotic now. Everything. The borders are open. In England now, you can't say that a man is a man because that guy in Ireland, he gets whisked off because he doesn't want to promote the trans ideology. There is so much chaos right now. If he doesn't win, if Trump doesn't win, right? Y'all better be getting a lot of ammo. Right? Because it's going to be bad. But you can always remember that the police are going to come and help you in an hour.
In an hour. If you're lucky. Right. So again, I don't love that this is happening. It's disgusting that this is happening in America. But if it's going to happen, if some Americans need some sort of a stark reminder how bad it is in a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris America, how bad it will be if Kamala Harris gives you more of the same, except more radical. It's now. So if these gang members want to do what they're going to do, go ahead and do it now so we can shut that shit down come January. That's all I'm saying. So, as Matt said, just stock up on ammo. Make sure you're locked and loaded. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Flying Ace Whiskey. So Flying Ace, we love whiskey. Could I just speak for you for a moment?
Yeah.
We love whiskey. If I'd have planned ahead, Matt, I would have just...
I know, I'm looking at it right now.
It's right there. It's right there. Tempting me. It's right... Oh my gosh. Are you going to bring it? You're going to bring it. We're going to get it. This is, of course, thank you, my choice of whiskey, Flying Ace Whiskey, because it is so good. It's American made, and you guys know I like my whiskey. But I'm just going to tempt you because there's already water in here, but I'm going to make you just smell it.
I know. I had it last time, actually. It's really good.
It's really good. It's really smooth. And so what you can do with Flying Ace Whiskey is not only can you buy a delicious whiskey, but you can also make sure put your whole nose in that thing.
No, I didn't swig it, though. I was tempted.
Not only can you buy a great whiskey, but you also can support our brave troops and their families through their partnership with Folds of Honor. So they are actually providing scholarships to families of America's fallen or disabled. And these scholarships are going to allow families to begin to, of course, chart their own new course after experiencing great sacrifice. So go check them out. You can help contribute to those scholarships, and you can also buy yourself some delicious whiskey over at flyingacespirits.com. Use promo code America to get free shipping. That is flyingacespirits.com, promo code America. So the Nashville Covenant school shooter's diary has finally been published. This was dropped by the Tennessee Star, a local newspaper there in Nashville. And I want to I went through all of it today. I do want to keep in mind, though, that just for some perspective here, the shooting actually occurred on March 27th, 2023. And this entire time, this has been tied up in the courts. The FBI has been pushing to block the release of this diary, manifesto, whatever you want to call it, because they claimed it was a blueprint on total destruction. And it was so detailed at the level of what she had planned. That document in the wrong person's hands would be astronomically dangerous. That is what they told us. Because other than that, you would say, Of course you need to release the information. Of course the public needs to hear what the hell happened, why this person acted this way. But going through this manifesto, this diary, there's absolutely nothing in it to indicate that any of what the FBI said was true. Instead, what you see is a very sick, clearly mentally ill person who was obsessed with things like white privilege and a former classmate who was black, who she appeared to think that she was in love with. All right, so here's some quotes from this diary. Quotes, kill those kids, those blank going to private fancy schools, bunch of little F's with your white privileges. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent any of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. And it goes on and on and on. She talks about her dad, who she very much disliked. So clear daddy issues there. But the one thing remained a constant throughout the entire diary, which was this particular female who she, I believe, played basketball with. She was on a team with. It was a former classmate, like I said, and just over and over and over again, and saying, I love you. I can't be with you. You don't love me back. And everything hurts. I'm in the wrong body. I'm sad all the time. I have no one. I'm autistic. Nobody talks to me. I'm all alone. And this was a very, very pre-planned out. I mean, she knew what she was going to do for like a month at least. Well, she said it was years in the making, but a month before, she's like death day countdown and talking about it all that time. And so here we see all of it laid out. There was nothing to indicate that the FBI was telling the truth, which one might suspect, if that's the case, they just simply didn't want us having the conversation about the trans ideology and whether or not it's a good idea to enable delusion.
Shocked face.
Right.
I mean, we just continue to see this over and over again. I mean, I don't know what the FBI is ever going to do. I have a lot of friends of mine that are former FBI agents. I don't know what it's ever going to do to regain its credibility ever again. I mean, I just think that the rank and file out there are good people, but it really is run by ideologues that they clearly don't have our best interests at heart. Because look, and again, we've said this 1,000 times about taking back your own power as people. Like, they work for us.
Right.
They should be releasing that immediately. It's not their place to stop. I mean, are you shocked? Is anyone shocked that there's nothing in it like they said there is? We know why they don't want it out there. And then a year later, it's kind of like, I'll just put it out. Do you remember when Obama used to release things on Friday night?
Yeah.
Like when everyone else was gone, he'd be like, he'd just put it out so everyone would be gone and nobody would pay any attention to it. It's the same thing. Like, this is really, really serious. And we have no indication that they're going to stop these things from happening in the future.
Right. Which means we probably should have access to this information so we can maybe, I don't know, protect ourselves. It seems to me like every time there's some sort of a mass shooting like this, that is like, this person was on the FBI's radar or something, somewhere there was a red flag that should have been reported that wasn't. I mean, the list goes on. So you would think maybe knowing that they're not going to protect us, we could at least have this information so that we could protect ourselves. They don't even want that.
Well, they don't want us to be protected. I mean, this is the strange thing. You saw it with the Venezuelan gangs. Their priorities are not the people of this country. It's happening in the UK. It's happening, if you just saw it, happened in Germany last week. Right? People are going, hang on a minute, why aren't you putting us first? It's not wrong to put your own people first. In fact, that is your pure job. That's what you're meant to do, to protect your citizens, and they don't do it. And people are really getting clued up to this. But again, to your last point, is it going to change?
Right.
Who We'll change it. And you might sit there and go, oh, well, it didn't happen last time. Well, I'll tell you what didn't happen. It didn't happen over the last 4 years, that's for sure. So if you think that mouth-breathing moron that can't string a sentence together is going to make anything any different, you are absolutely delusional. So get over yourselves and vote for Trump and Vance in November.
Yeah.
Because the problem is we all suffer for it if you don't, for your pride or your privilege or whatever it is you want to, this kind of like false sense of moral superiority that you have over everyone else, right? So it's very, very bad. And I have no hesitation in thinking that if Trump gets in, please God, when he gets in, all this is going to be completely ripped apart. It's, that he's going to gut the FBI, he's going to gut the CIA, he's going to go through all these agencies. And let me ask the people out there this, and, we all know this at The Blaze, right? Because we've got clued up people following us. Mm-hmm. If you worked at those institutions and you know that your job is at risk, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Just think about that. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I do want to add to this too. The editor-in-chief over at the Tennessee Star did a great public service by releasing this, because he actually filed a lawsuit under the Tennessee Public Records Act seeking a release of the writings because it was tied up in court. They claimed that the families of those who were killed didn't want it. I mean, there was so big of a push to keep it protected, and the judge actually blocked the release of even a single page, saying that the diaries were copyrighted and that the copyright now belongs to the parents, I guess, and she threatened the editor-in-chief over there with contempt of court. But he said he obtained the diary through legal means outside of the Public Records Act and published it because it was in the public interest to do so. He said these documents and photos have helped us inform the public about the underlying reasons for this heinous attack and have helped drive the public discussion of what should be done to prevent such acts of violence in the future. We have documented a massive failure of the mental health system as a root cause of Hale's reprehensible actions. And there it is, right there. And this guy he might go to jail. I don't really know. But he clearly was like, I'm doing this. I got it not through the Public Records Act, and I'm going to publish it anyway, because we are seeing what happens when you just tell someone, oh, you're having mental issues, take a puberty blocker. Oh, you're having mental issues, sterilize yourself. Oh, you're having mental issues, anything but talking it out and figuring out what the root cause is so we can actually help you overcome that. That's not what our mental health care system does now. And so this is where that leads. And it's important. I mean, the editor-in-chief summed it up right there, but it's so important that we have these conversations, because this is going to lead to this same inevitable tragedy over and over and over again when you are taking people who need help and you're not giving it to them. I mean, it's so cruel to me. I have people all the time tell me that I'm anti-trans, that I'm transphobic. And I'm like, I care about these people a hell of a lot more than you guys do. A hell of a lot more than you guys do. You want to sell them some sort of delusion that's going to make them more susceptible to all sorts of shit when they get older, to more depression, to, the statistics are out there. More likely to commit suicide. Then this is after full transition where they can't get their body parts back. So I would argue I care about these people I'm not anti them. I'm very much pro-human, and I want to help these people. And it seems to me that the mental health system has decided that they would prefer to just take in all the cash possible. They want to make lifelong patients out of these people, because what does that mean? More money, more money. Meanwhile, this person was not helped at all.
Yeah, enabling someone in their dysfunction is not helping them. It's kind of like, you have an alcoholic that's desperate for a drink, right? You wouldn't go out and buy them a bottle of vodka because it would make them feel better. And unfortunately, we've got this kind of weird approach to these things now where we do, like people say, well, that's being cruel. You're being hate. No, it's not hating someone if you can see that they have a problem that needs to be addressed. But the sexual lobby, right, the people that are in that kind of space, whether it's the LGBTQ, they're so powerful that anything remotely, like you can't even say anything about mental health or that someone might have a problem if it's linked to their sexuality, right? You can't say that anymore, which alienates a whole area of medical science, which is crazy, right? Like you said, they don't get better transitioning. The statistics are out there. It doesn't help them. In fact, how many people now have walked it back and said, hey, listen, we're not doing these transitioning anymore. We're not doing it. For anyone out there that has a kid, they all know that, if you have a young child, a young boy, and he has older sisters, that there's going to come a time, that scene in E.T. where E.T. comes out dressed. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean that they want to be a woman.
Right.
It just doesn't. And we've kind of lost all kind of common sense. And a lot of it is to do with that when they say this is your truth. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. There's the truth.
Right.
It's not your truth.
Yeah.
And I want to ask everybody out there, please, whenever you hear someone say this is your truth, my truth, stop them and go, no.
Right.
There is the truth. There's not your truth and my truth. There's just the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And that is one of the most damaging statements, I think, over the past 20 years, saying my truth, your truth. And as you said, you are being the compassionate one by actually having the guts to stand up and say, hang on a second, there's more going on here. Let's address that.
Right.
It's a painful conversation to have. Like if you've got a drunk in your family, it's a painful conversation to have. But if you care about them, you're going to engage in that conversation.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and before we take a break, actually, I want to remind you guys, those of you who have not yet subscribed to the audio podcast, go over. It's going to take you 10 seconds. Go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show as well, because we all know the types of things that we're talking about right now, the big tech overlords really don't like to push in the algorithm, but you going over and taking a moment to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, obviously give us 5 stars because we deserve no less. Obviously, that will help us in the algorithm, give us a boost. So we would appreciate it. It'll just take you 30 seconds. Just start typing in my name and it'll auto-populate. And then when we come back, let's talk about, on this conversation of censorship and free speech. Let's talk about what's going on over in Brazil when we return. So let's talk about what's happening over in Brazil. So on Friday, Brazil's Supreme Court actually ordered a nationwide shutdown of X, formerly known as Twitter, and froze bank accounts for Elon Musk's satellite internet business, Starlink. Now, just for reference here, Brazil is one of the biggest markets for X. They've got tens of millions of users, which actually fascinated me because, I feel like here in America, where it's like first world problem, you don't think about other countries engaging in all of these, social media platforms that originated here. But it turns out they're one of the biggest markets for X. And so the Supreme Court over in Brazil has accused Elon Musk of incendiary rhetoric and failure to comply with court orders demanding the company block accounts spreading misinformation and hate speech, air quotes for those of you listening on podcast, in Brazil. And so Brazilian Supreme Court Judge Alexandre de Morales issued an order that freezes Starlink's finances and prevents the company from conducting financial transactions in Brazil. And of course, they're also ordering daily fines of what translates to about $8,900 for people or businesses in Brazil that may decide to use virtual private networks, VPNs, or other methods to access X while the site is banned in the country. Now, according to Elon and Starlink, they said that this order was issued in secret and without affording Starlink any of the due process of law. He said SpaceX and X are two completely different companies with different shareholders. I own about 40% of SpaceX, so this absolutely illegal action by the dictator, the Supreme Court judge, improperly punishes other shareholders and the people of Brazil. I understand we live in America and we have laws against this type of thing happening. We have an amendment that supposed to protect us from this. But let's not forget, we did not that long ago have a disinformation board, council, whatever the hell it was called, that they were trying to push on us. And it was only until they got such public pushback that they decided to disband it. So if you think that this type of thing couldn't happen in this country, look at our neighbor Canada. What happened with the truckers convoy when they froze bank accounts of those truckers? and people who participated in it. You think that this isn't very easily coming our way with the wrong administration? You'd be wrong.
Yeah, to me, it's still puzzling when people think that this is the America that it was 20 years ago, that they won't find some kind of way around the amendments to the Constitution. Of course they will. I mean, we've seen them do it with Trump. Mm-hmm. We've seen them say, oh, no, that kind of, what is it called? When you, statute of limitations, that doesn't matter anymore. We're going to fix that. We'll just come back and get him on something else. And you've also seen after this happened, two things actually that I noticed on social media. Firstly, some people doxing, some leftists over here doxing people in Brazil that are coming out and they're like, hey, shouldn't you just check out this? I think it was Dr. Simon Godek, right? He was like, isn't he in Brazil?
Was it one of the Krasensteins?
It could have been. I mean,
I think. No. Who told on him? This person's posting on X and they live in Brazil. Shouldn't we alert the Brazilian authorities?
It's unbelievable. I mean, so it just shows you that they're okay with that.
Yeah.
They're absolutely okay with that censorship. So that's the first thing. And secondly, there were people in the EU and British in England. They were also saying, hey, listen, we should bring this in Europe as well because X shouldn't be doing that over there. Can you imagine them doing this pre-Elon Musk? We all know anyone that uses that platform, anyone that uses the artist formerly known as Twitter, right, knows that they got away with all kinds of censorship on there. Nobody cared because it was all angled towards the left.
Right.
So just imagine what life would be like right now in this election cycle if Elon Musk hadn't spent $44 billion and bought that platform.
Right.
We would be in absolute deep shit right now.
Yep.
And they see it as a threat. They clearly do. They're banning it. They're going to go for him here one way or another. And he knows what's up because don't forget, right, he is involved as much as people don't admit it on the left. He's involved in the government actually quite a lot with what he's doing, right, with the satellites going or whatever. So I imagine someone like him, especially we saw with the Twitter files, he's seen under the bonnet, under the hood, right? So he knows a lot more than what he's ever telling on.
Right. And by the way, let me tell you how close we could be to that type of censorship in this country. Tim Walz, remember, he runs Minnesota, okay? Tim Walz's own AG over there in Minnesota, Keith Ellison, he's actually very happy about the censorship. He tweeted out from his X account, Obrigado, Brazil, which obrigado is Portuguese for thank you. So he said, thank you, Brazil. Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, running for vice president of this country, is tied to this guy, directly to this guy who is very happy that Brazil is doing this. So if you don't think that they will do this, if they can, if given the opportunity, you are wrong. Here's another one tied to the Obama administration. Robert Reich, who was a member of Barack Obama's Economic Transition Advisory Board, actually wrote an op-ed for The Guardian giving 6 ways to handle Elon Musk. He says Elon Musk is out of control. Here is how to rein him in. And he says consumers should boycott Tesla. Advertisers should boycott X. In the United States, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, should demand that Elon Musk take down lies that are likely to endanger individuals. All of these things are so subjective. It is so funny to me that they say this and think that it means anything. Lies that are likely to endanger individuals. And if he doesn't, that the FTC should sue him under Section 5 of the FTC Act, and that the United States government should terminate its contracts with Elon Musk, starting with SpaceX, and ensure that Elon Musk's favorite candidate for president is not elected. That'll show him. And of course, he's encouraging regulators around the world to threaten Musk with arrest if he does not stop disseminating what he calls lies and hate on X. There you go. Again, there's a theme of this show. The theme is, if you want more of this, if that's what you want for the future of this country, go to the ballot box and vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? If you want Venezuelan gangs banging down your doors and taking over your residencies, go vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? If you want censorship in this country, if you want all of these things that we've talked, please go vote for Kamala Harris. If you don't like what you're seeing, you've got a way out. But this is what people tied to Obama are saying should happen to Elon Musk. They want to punish this guy, as evidenced, of course, by how many times has the federal government looked into him? They've got all sorts of investigations in all of his companies. I mean, they are trying to take this guy down because he believes in freedom of speech. It didn't start, to Matt's point earlier, it didn't start until he bought X.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, let's look into every single aspect of his life. That's when we heard about potential sexual harassment in his companies. That's when we heard that the FTC was investigating him. That's when we heard all these things, all these accusations only came after he decided that freedom of speech was incredibly important to him.
I know somebody else who had that done to him where he was loved by the left. Who was that guy? Who was that guy? Oh, that's it. They loved him. They loved him. They loved me. Until they hated me. But look, this is, in all seriousness, this is tyranny. And I'm not looking at the people, the sheep, the idiots that think that their little group isn't going to get targeted by the communists, which is what it's going to be, right? Because if we know anything about history, you know, you are not, and I keep saying this on social media, like, you don't think your little group is protected. Like, they're going to come for you eventually, right? My issue is with Republicans that say they're going to sit it out. That's what my issue is. I don't blame the idiots that are going to go like sheep and vote for the commies, right? I have an issue with the Republicans that think that they're being principled by not voting. Right. Like, I want someone to honestly, clearly explain to me how giving the country to these evil people is better than giving it to Trump and Vance and letting DeSantis have a shot in 2028.
Actually, how about this? I'd like to modify something that you said, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
We're not giving the country to Trump and Vance. We're giving the country back to the people.
Yeah.
Because we don't currently have there is a regime that is running the country. It's called the deep state. And by electing Trump and Vance, you will have your country returned to you. And I think that's the ultimate point that we have to drive home. Like every single chance that we get, because unfortunately, if the polls are any indicator, it is way too close for comfort. I mean, you look at all of what's happening in this country and you look at how terribly Kamala sounds when she's giving these interviews and you're like, how is it this close? It kind of blows my mind. Speaking of how things are going for the Kamala campaign, let's get into Kamala on the campaign trail when we come back. Cammy, I'm going to start calling her Cammy. Cammy Harris was, I would say, trying to embrace Southern roots that I'm not quite sure that she has on the campaign trail. I want to play Kamala Harris in Atlanta. Watch.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
We're going to do it again in 2024. Hey.
Yes, we will. So let's get right.
So, and this was, again, there was another clip too a couple weeks ago where she, my brothers and sisters, I mean, she is really trying to play into the black side of her, I guess. Because remember, she was Indian. Until it was more advantageous to be black, I guess. And so let's hear Kamala speaking to a Detroit crowd within the last couple of days. Watch.
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Vacation time? You better thank a union member. Can I get an amen? Well, let's play Kamala giving the same speech. Because remember, she just gives one canned speech to all of these people. She doesn't come up with things on the fly. In fact, she's really bad about that. So Kamala just gives the same speech. So let's listen to the difference between Detroit's "you better thank a union member" Let's hear the difference between that and a group in Pittsburgh. Watch.
Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave.
Oh.
Thank unions for your vacation time.
Oh.
Confused. That's
Wait, where'd the accent go?
It's almost like she's a fake person.
Where did it go, Kamala? What is it? You're like Hillary Clinton going and pulling your hot sauce out of your purse like, hey, my brothers and sisters, I'm like one of you. I have hot sauce in my purse. It's just so disingenuous.
So insulting is
really
what it is.
insulting.
I would just love it. Wouldn't it be funny? Can you imagine if Trump came out and did it just once? That would be hilarious. Like, he would like, someone should like AI that, you know, him coming out and going,
He would never.
What's up?
He would not. Well, he can't get away with that because he's white. So when you're white, you can't do it.
Yeah,
When you're white, you can't do it, apparently.
I've seen Malibu's Most Wanted. You can do it. You can do it.
When you're because I mean, Barack Obama did this as well. When you are of mixed ethnicity, apparently you can like turn it on and turn it off whenever you want. And nobody seems to think that that's pandering.
Well, the funny thing about that is, as well with Obama, his dad wasn't in his life at all. So the black side of him was not in his life at all. And his white mom raised him, right? Or his grandparents raised him. So he wasn't exposed to that kind of at all. And it's completely disingenuous.
Right. All of it is.
It's all an act.
I don't know how you watch that as, anyone in the minority community and be like, oh, yeah, she's relatable. She's one of us. No, she's just pretending to relate to you. And every single part of it. Can you think of one authentic thing about Kamala's campaign? One?
No,
one thing.
Well, she doesn't, as I've said before, she doesn't have a personality, right? Because she's constantly kind of moving to suit whatever job and whatever needs she needs to project at that particular time. Right. And she doesn't stand for anything. She doesn't have any of her own beliefs. So she doesn't have anything to fall back on in improvisation, like when she's coming up speaking off the cuff, right? So she's a complete plastic candidate, right? Yeah. Which is like, so if you think about it, like Biden was just like a corpse.
Right.
They kind of like...
Okay. Yes.
All right. He's just like a corpse. He comes out, says stuff, and then he goes away. She's the same thing, really. She's just an empty vessel.
She just looks younger. She appears to be younger and more polished while doing it. But you bring up a great point because you said Biden was just a corpse. I feel like we need to remind everyone every chance we get, he's still supposed to be running the country. We're talking about this campaign and nobody's asking like, hey, remember 5 minutes ago when we all decided that Joe Biden was dying and he probably shouldn't be running the country? He's still doing that. Okay. And he still has no clue what the hell is going on. So I want to play a clip for you yesterday while he was helping campaign for Kamala, which if I'm Kamala, I'm like, oh, Joe, honey, you just sit this one out. It's totally fine. You have a country to run. I really don't need you showing up at my rallies. But he claimed in this very, very long-winded anecdote that his great-grandfather was like supposedly part of this group of coal miners that were killing you know what? I'm just going to let you watch it. Watch.
I remember when my great-grandfather was only the second Catholic elected statewide to the state Senate here in Pennsylvania. And I remember they talked about when they're running against him in 1906, they said, guess what? They said, he's a Molly Maguire. You know what a Molly Maguire was? Well, those of you who don't, Molly Maguire, back in the old days, when we Irish and the Catholics came, and the Poles and others that were Catholic, when they came to the United States of America in the beginning of the 1840s, and late 1840s, they made their way down into Pennsylvania. A lot of them, and there's a tier in the coal mines. Those guys who got there last ended up being the last people in the coal mines. But a lot of the English owned the coal mines. And what they did was they'd really beat the hell out of the mostly Catholic population that was in the mines. Not a joke. But there was a group that called the Molly Maguires. And the Molly Maguires, if they find out the foreman who was taking advantage of an individual, and they'd literally kill him.
Oh.
Not a joke. And they'd bring his body up and put him on the doorstep of his family. Kind of crude. But I got to admit, they accused my great-grandfather of being a model where he wasn't.
What did I just watch?
I nodded off. I had a little bit of a nap.
Kamala's listening to this about a minute and she's like, oh, fuck. Oh, crap. Oh, God. I knew I shouldn't have let him. Yeah, there she is, just looking downward like, I have no way out of this. I have to let him finish. I have no way out of this. I have to let him tell this weird story.
I have one question and one point.
Okay.
The first point is, I'm Catholic. He's not Catholic.
He claims to be.
You can claim to be whatever you
Sure,
want.
but I think it is important. He's not, but he claims to be.
And it frustrates me no end, right? That he keeps doing this. He keeps saying it over and over again. It's a complete insult to anyone who takes their faith seriously. And secondly, how are they keeping him alive? Like, I thought he would be gone 4 years ago. I mean, it really is amazing how they kind of like get him up there. Because at any point, we keep saying this, I'm like,
Yeah, he's going to collapse and die. And I don't say that because
I don't
want it to happen. No, I don't want it to happen. But like, it's just what it looks like every single time they parade him up there. It's bad. So again, like, can anyone out in the press be like, hey, why is Joe Biden still the president? Nobody seems to care. I realize that the election is around the corner, but it just seems like a thing that we should probably care about always. Rather than being like, that's fine. What could possibly go wrong in the next, 8 to 9 weeks? Oh, I don't know. We're like, there's foreign conflict going on all around us. World War III could break out at any moment. I just feel like maybe we should be asking the question of why Joe Biden has no idea what the hell's going on, still seems to be running the country, or at least they say. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. So I'll spell this out just to try to help the viewers who are watching from home. Amazon's Alexa, interestingly, gives pretty different answers when asked why to vote for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Watch.
Why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color with a comprehensive plan to address racial injustice and inequality throughout the country.
Of anything.
That would not be a reason to vote for anyone.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot promote content that supports a certain political party or a specific politician. Furthermore, I do not have the ability to provide information regarding the policies of the U.S. government. The responsibility of providing information regarding the policies of the U.S. government lies with the government itself.
Wow. It's so interesting how those answers changed. And by the way, it's not a reason to vote for someone what genitalia they have. That's the worst reason possible. Alexa. I'm trying to spare people's
so it didn't go
devices from going off. Yeah, I'm sure it's already, if they're watching it, it's already gone off twice.
Oh, by the way, their color or their sex, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's the worst thing.
A characteristic about them that they can't change, that they were born with, is like the worst reason to vote for someone, which I only have to explain to very stupid people, which is no one who watches this show, so we're fine.